Welcome,
Blog Talk
welcome,
Radio.
Welcome to our Women Veterans Speak Saturday evening broadcast. We are so grateful to have wonderful weather here in the DMV area. This is Kathy Santos, the program host, and we're here today to talk about women veterans issues as we do on our weekly broadcast. And we are grateful that we have among us some incredible women veteran advocates. I think it's appropriate to predicate our show on some of the current events that are happening today. And we're going to provide some historical significance and relating other work with our guest host, who was very pivotal in developing historical significance. And we will have to provide some historical relevance to the historical work that was done over 30 years ago to some of the day's activity. And we're just delighted that we have on our program, I'd like to introduce Marcina Mungeon and Amy Serpa. Are you both on the line?
I'm here, Dr. Santos. Thank you so much for having me on.
Absolutely. So we have with you today is Marcina Mungeon. We're going to share a little bit about her history, and I really want you to feel comfortable on this program. I have so much information that has taken key position here. And I really want you to feel. I think somebody has their radio up. If they have speakers that they could use for take it away from the computer, I think that would be helpful just to get the feedback off the line. But I tell you, this is show we do with their programs. We record them and we archive them. You can feel free to share them on with your network. We certainly will be posting them through the Women Veterans One Voice throughout social media, because I know today is going to have historical significance. I'd like to begin our program today with our sponsorship, which is sponsored by Lady Di, a retired colonel who is an author. She's very supportive of our work and the Women Veterans One Voice movement, and she sponsored our program today. And a little bit about her history will come later on in the broadcast, but certainly we would like for you all to remember her as being one that is standing in the gap here. She went to the Supreme Court on an important issue, and we will talk more about that in future broadcasts. So we're uniting across we're transitioning across many eras here. So, of course, we are defined by many platforms, and I think you would learn that as you move forward in your advocacy. Came on board with Marcina Mungeon, who was working the advocacy platform out of Philadelphia, was involved in congressional contributions and working with the Department of Veterans Affairs, speaking across the country, sharing information of her experience in military sexual trauma. That was over 30 years ago, Ms. Serpa. So I'd like to probably predicate our program on some of the historical significance in that role. And we're going to transition our conversation into today's activities, where on yesterday there was a bill that was passed in the House, the Deborah Garnett-Sampson Act. And what is significant about that bill is that it was rejected, or it had some challenges when it went to the next level in the Senate. And I would like to say, as the foundational for this conversation, that Senate response is important. The Veterans Oversight and Investigative Committee had hearings on the 25th of this month, 2 days of hearings. And this particular hearing was a little bit concerning to me because it did not translate the work that you guys are doing out here across this country in support of Vanessa Gilliam and her murder, and the great work that you did in bringing her voice into this space so that we can have some relevance to who she was and the value that we give to her life as comrades. So I thank you so much, Amy, for that great speech that you gave that brought me to tears. And I'd like to invite you in, but I just want to share a little bit about what this hearing means that was brought to the House floor on yesterday. And I think it's important to know that there have been many failed policies that have come across the House floor brought on by legislators from particularly California, Congresswoman Spears, and presently Mark Takano, who's also a California representative. And what is significant about the legislative agenda is that they must connect to the work. And there is not a greater work out here today than Women Veterans One Voice, and you have my full support. I did reach out to the Congressional Veterans House Committee in response to the 2 days of hearings that I listened to attentively. And I was very concerned because it did not have any substantive value in what needed to happen to propel any particular legislation. So when the Senate committee actually walked out on the House during the vote to me that they would have read the bill and questioned some of the content. The approach by the House committee in presenting bills that have it hidden in it other agendas, be it women veteran specific, or they will hide in these bills LGBTQ issues, sexual reorientation surgeries, and those kind of things. That is important for what the women veterans legal the law is, and making some distinctions, as well as the historical women veterans legislation that was passed in 1993. This is what I'd like to just invite Marcina Mungin in. Marcina Mungin, along with myself, went to Congress in 1993. And then this particular bill, that was a mandate that women veterans gender-specific facilities be installed in all VA hospitals in this country. The relevance of that is prior to that testimony, we shared one facility with the men. And the very hard work that it took to have the women veteran gender-specific facilities came on the heels of women who were going to the VA hospital who had no facilities at all. There were very few women that were going to the VA hospital. So 30 years ago, when this congressional legislation was passed, it was a mandate also that military sexual trauma be addressed and counseling be a part of all the programming for VA facilities. So propelling to today's hearing, it totally omits that and tries to reintroduce a new legislation without even acknowledging what is already legislated, would question what the intent is. So we're going to dive into that, maybe not on this program, but certainly I wanted to just give Marcina Mungin, who I am very grateful for her leadership and advocacy 30 years ago that gave me the opportunity to go before Congress. Marcina Mungin, are you there? Would you like to just share a little bit about what you were doing when I met you 30 years ago and how that congressional legislation has impacted our lives, and what it is that you think that we're doing today that could make a difference in bringing that legislation to life? Ms. Mungin, are you there? Ms. Mungin, are you there? Amy, are you there?
I am here.
Oh, well, I don't know, Ms. Mungin. I'll just have to send her a text. But listen, Ms. Mungin is a phenomenal advocate. She has retreated, and I want you to hear from her. But if she comes back on, we will get a chance to speak with her. Otherwise, we will connect off the air.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Absolutely. When I got the confirmation that she was going to be on, I thought this would be a great mantle to pass to you. You understand what I mean? I think that
yes,
your work.
Ma'am, I greatly appreciate that.
It brings me to tears. I don't mean to be so emotional, but when I heard you speaking, and I'm not normally this soft, okay? I'm a lot harder. Don't get it mistaken. I'm still saying Kathy Santos, but just talking to you just
sure.
draws me to. Don't laugh at me because, I got some work to do here. There's still some doors that need to come down. But I am so honored to hear that the strength that I lost over the years has been rebirthed through you and your work and the movement. Tara Jones, of course, is just phenomenal and being a part of the movement, transitioning. We're transitioning on so many levels. You don't understand. I was a Gulf War era veteran. When I came to the table, there were World War II veterans that were still terrorized and tormented by their experience, if you understand. And what I tried to do was to transition the conversation. It was very difficult. It has nearly cost me my life. So there have been women veterans who have died doing what we do, okay?
Absolutely.
And what I saw in you, you said, no, we ain't giving up, we coming. And I just could exhale I just exhaled because I believe that the Lord had breathed air and strength into others for this journey. And I thank you so much for being willing to take on the mantle. I want to give you an opportunity to talk about what you want to talk about initially, and I'll have some specific questions. But I hope that this program will prove to be a benefit to you. I've had many very important people on this program over the years, and this program is being brought back out because there are some things that need to be said and documented. And there's nothing that I don't say that they don't want to hear. But I'm putting you in this space, Amy, because they need to hear from you today. So I want you to take a minute, please, and just share a little bit about your military history if you want, but really bring it into where we are with the Women Veterans One Voice movement.
Thank you so much, Dr. Santos. I am so grateful that you have me on here today, and I respect the platform that you've allowed me the space to be in today. So thank you for your service, and thank you for being a front runner and a frontier in this incredible war that has been fought for so long. And it's at the point where, you know, we need women like you and women together. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay.
I can hear you.
Sorry about that. Okay, so I thank you for everything that you have done, and I'm grateful to Tara Jones, who allowed me to come on and join the fight, and has asked me to come on and join her in the National Military Women Veterans Association and advocate with Women Veterans One Voice. And it has brought me so much healing, even in just the short time that I have been involved. I have to tell you that in writing that speech, I worked through a lot of healing myself, and I was incredibly triggered, you know, at times. And I realized that this fight is so much bigger than just my story. But I felt the Spirit of God, and I felt the spirit of my sisters, and they have absolutely surrounded me and given me the strength and the courage needed to be able to take this fight on. And I realized that this isn't going to be a short battle. It's going to be a lot of battles, you know, a lot of small battles to win the war here. And it's going to take having a lot of uncomfortable conversations and, you know, calling people to the mat and asking for their support and asking for them to show up for a subgroup of women that have been hurting for a substantial amount of time and feel invisible and forgotten. And I truly feel that God has put it on my heart and in my life to go out here and advocate for these women that have been lost in this battle, to not allow their stories to be buried along with them. And I'm honored to take the fight on and respect my sisters. And, you know, it's a very personal fight for me. You know, Jessica Roque, Amy Lopez, Tara Jones, and myself were all taking it on to advocate and protest across this country until we see systemic change and reform and justice. So my heart is in this battle, and I won't stop. We won't stop until we see justice. And I don't think that that's going to come anytime soon, unfortunately. And I'm okay with fighting for a long time. You know, I don't want to be in a position where I have to run for office, but it's something that I have been considering seriously. And I've been talking with people about it to the point where, you know, I may end up coming for a seat in Congress. So if I don't have politicians that are willing to work for me and with me and support my sisters in this battle, I will come for their seat. So, you know, this is a war, and I am declaring war, and you're either with us at the table or you're on the menu. So I'm not here to be peaceful. I'm not here to be silent. And, you know, we're here to be heard.
honored to hearing all of that foundational on that particular introduction. There's a lot more to your story, and I want to dive into that. But I want to particularly say two things on your comments on on feeling invisible and on them declaring war. You declaring war on them. Okay, you said those two statements. I'd like to talk about first of all feeling invisible. We're not invisible to them. They see us and they hear us. So let's be clear. We're not invisible. They're choosing to ignore us. That's a difference, if you understand.
Correct.
So when we talk about, I'm a little bit mature, so I'm going to talk as Mama Hen here, okay? I'm the watchdog, so I'm going to tell you, when we use those particular vernaculars, we accept defeat. We are not invisible, because what the invisible suggests, according to the medical psychological community, is that that's internal to us. So we have to be careful about what things we take on, okay? Women veterans rock. Rocking is another group that we do not necessarily take on that particular theme, because rocking connotates psychosis, okay? As a mental health professional, when you talk about rocking, it is a response to psychotropic medicines or conditions that cause you to rock. You see what I'm saying? As a particular response to medications or some other mental health challenge. You understand what I'm saying? So when we're talking about you are invisible, that's something that the psychology community see as a mental health issue. So when they set the things for us, I am not invisible or those kinds of things, we want to make sure that we are using it in the right context, okay? We are certainly not invisible. They see us and they hear us. They choose to ignore us. So we want to make sure that as veterans and advocates, that when you say we are coming invisible, okay? We are coming in full force, which means that they must see us as we are competent and assertive in our abilities to move this agenda forward. And when you say declare war, they've already declared war on us, okay? And I want to share with you, we're going to talk off the air about that. But we are responding to their lack of response to us, so they have already declared a war on us.
Correct.
And you see what I'm saying? So just to help you to understand how your feelings about things have translated into a conversation, but the tone to them is acquiescing to what they now were trying to say about us, who are mostly civilians, okay? Or they're the individuals who do not understand the impact of what they're saying to us when they say that we're invisible. So they have a huge campaign saying that, oh, you are not invisible, okay? So we're not going to respond to that. No, we're not invisible. We are going to be heard. And those women that are on this Women Veterans Born Voice agenda, these girls are not invisible. They're articulating with experience and knowledge. And this is my transitional conversation to you, that we are the voice of the veterans. And that because I sit on the other side at the table there, I can assure you that there's a missing seat for you at the table, because the conversation that you and I are having, they don't have there. And if you're going to have a policy agenda, which is important for you as a congressional visionary, even if you go into politics, there's a lot of power in any role that you take. But if you're going to take on a congressional role or an agenda, just know that that is a position. There is a seat at the table for you there. You see what I'm saying? And you go after that seat and you own that. And I'm telling you this in this documented, recorded, because I want them to know that as a senior veteran, I was enrolled at the VA hospital for over 30 years, that this is a very, very important transitional dialogue by which they have failed to do. They have failed to transition a conversation from the Vietnam era to the new soldier. So what we're hearing today is rhetoric from individuals that have been carefully chosen to come to the table who are misleading them about what our experience is. And I really want you to know that you are navigating through a very challenging path, but I am here to make that transition easy. As an ambassador right now for the Department of Veterans Affairs, I am actually in this position, and what I'm doing is I'm looking for those prepared to take on my agenda and my role on the next cycle, and I think this is going to be it. I would like to hear about your journey when you were walking through the path of the Vanessa Guillem, where they found her body and those different burial sites. Could you share a little bit about you were able to narrate that experience in such precision and with such professionalism? Can you share a little bit what you were actually feeling going through that task?
Yes. Thank you so much for everything you said, and I agree with you 100%. And here's the thing, and this is where we're at. We're at a historical and pivotal moment. Okay, you know, being at that site where Vanessa Guillen's remains were found was incredibly moving as a human being and as a spiritual being. And to be there and to imagine what must have happened there, and to see the embers from freshly burnt wood where they tried to make sure that she was gone, that every trace of her was gone. The fact that she was buried on the side of the road amongst trash was incredibly surreal for me. And it was beyond disgusting to think that a human being was capable of such a disgraceful act. And I will never forget that moment. I will never forget sharing that moment with my sisters and seeing what it did to them. And I was surrounded by strong women that were moved to tears, that were absolutely shaken to the core, including myself. You know, I became so overwhelmed with emotion and seeing the reality of what happened. It is one thing to see it on TV, and it's another thing to experience that in person and to see the heinous murder of Vanessa Guillen and the end result of that. It's a disgrace to see, and it's absolutely maddening to me as a veteran and as a sister to see that the command there has not been held accountable, that there was no sense of urgency in launching an investigation. And they've seen that. They're there living in that. And they should be coming together and making our sisters feel safe and supported. And instead, you know, there's a lot of us that are scared. And I won't have that. I won't bury another sister. You know, Vanessa's case, her murder, it shook me to the core. It made me sick to my stomach because I came so close to becoming her. And, you know, Lavina Johnson, who has been forgotten in the years and not even honored, but her family had to launch a personal investigation on their own time without the support of the military, without any information. And so the injustice here, case after case after case, it's incredibly disheartening and disgusting to see that there's been no movement and no support from these heavy organizations that should be coming out and demanding justice and support of our sisters and women veterans. When there's 2.5 million of us, you know, we're not going to be silent. We're rallying the troops. We're protesting. Women Veterans One Voice is the movement of the future, and it's built on a foundation where Tara Jones has, you know, absolutely paved the ground and worked blood, sweat, and tears to make this movement happen. And I will honor what she's done, and I'm honored to work with her. And we have sisters that are fired up, Jessica Roque, that, you know, we won't stop. We refuse to stop. This is personal for us. You know, we both have experienced MST over and over, and we need to honor our sisters. And it's time that we rally the troops for justice, because it's time for reform, and it's time for the people to be heard. It's time for the veterans to be heard. And we need to hold the politicians accountable and do things like pass this Deborah Sampson Act and, you know, make sure that women are encouraged to serve, not discouraged like LULAC telling women, don't serve this country. I think that's the wrong message. You know, what we need to be doing is saying we're changing the system, and you are safe and you are supported and you will have a successful environment where everyone is treated like an equal. And so there's a lot of change that needs to happen, but telling women to not serve is pushing us back, you know, a significant amount of time in history, and we've already overcome these battles. And so I don't agree with that message, and I think that the change is going to need to happen through the veteran community.
I agree with you 100%. The one thing that I would like to encourage you in your processing of this, I hear your strong intellect. Your strong intellect is mesmerizing to me in terms of how you say, well, you're kind of suggesting that you kind of knew this, but something draws you to do more, and you get drawn into this the more you see a need. And that's something I think that you say it is very spiritual. And you will encounter people that don't understand why you're so driven, and I'm speaking directly to you. But it's significant for me in you recognizing that calling, as does Ms. Jones, who she and I, as being, confidants, we talk about that spiritual journey that drives us to make a difference in this area. And we have been very supportive of each other over the years, meeting our own individual challenges, of course. But I will tell you that your mission in life will be fulfilled. And that oftentimes your role will require that you have connectivity. And that's what I'm trying to identify with you as to connecting you to some huge platforms, right, which need to hear from those who speak in the tone that you do. What are you responded to, which I'd like to have you expound just a little more, is with regard to your position in how you are affected personally with this journey. You said that there was a lot of healing in it for you. Would you like to share a little bit about, if you don't have to, because I understand how triggers can be very sensitive, and sometimes they can come unexpectedly, as one did just for me earlier. I am very, very heartened to that. So I was literally surprised that I welled up for just a little bit, and I heard you laughing in the background. So there's no I am human, and yet there's still healing every day for me as well after 30 years. So I will tell you that in how you think about answering this, that your foundation be, for me, I had to grow to sometimes disconnect from thy message as opposed to my own personal healing journey, if you understand. So you were able to walk through that path, and I listened to Jessica walking through the path, and I listened to you walking through the path, and I listened to Tara, Ms. Jones walking through that path. And I knew right away that those grounds were sacred for that. You understand? Did you find that something happened to you walking through that path that you can share about? That when you say this has been healing for you, coming out when you were speaking, when you wrote the speech for the rally, all of that is healing for you. Can you share a little bit about what that means that could be helpful for another person? Just a little bit.
Absolutely. So I have to say that, I am very empathic in nature. I am intellectual. I am an ENTP on the Myers-Briggs. So I tend to do a lot of research. I like to have stats and facts and things like that. But I am also a spiritual being having a human experience. And to go there and experience that in physical proximity, to be able to feel my sister's spirit and connect with her spiritually and connect with my spirit, with my sisters on that level, it was insurmountable, to be honest with you, to tell you the depths of what the emotion was that we felt that day as a sisterhood, and the healing that it brought to us, and also to be quite frank with you, Dr. Santos, a fury, a rage, and an anger really overcame me because I won't tolerate it. And it does not sit right with me. It shakes me to the core. And I refuse to see another case like this. And the more I'm involved in this, the more I'm seeing that, so many women have come so close, including myself, to becoming Lavina Johnson and becoming Vanessa Guillen and all of these women that the government has tried to lose in time with no justice for their families that, are left questioning, what happened to my daughter? What happened to my son? These Gold Star families that are mourning with no answers and no justice and just wanting some answers, wanting some closure for their children and for their families, you know, and meeting these women that are fighting this for years. You know, it is important that we all connect and we lock arms so that we can take this fight on together and really create the change that is needed, and come together in this Women Veterans One Voice movement, and give the platform to these women veterans that need to be heard. And we will not accept being silenced by this government, and we will demand justice, and we will keep coming, Dr. Santos, you know, base by base across this country until we are heard, and we are being heard, and we are coming to Washington. We're coming to Capitol Hill. We have just begun, but the thing is that a lot of this work has been done in the darkness. You know, getting back to my own story, you know, there's been many sleepless nights where I've been processing my own journey and what needs to be said in order to bring healing to these women that are hurting and need to find the power to reclaim the power they lost and speak their own truths and speak their journey and then link up and be a part of the change. You know, it's about, you know, that phoenix rising, being on fire and coming out of the flame, you know, and bringing buckets of water back to those that are still on fire, you know, and it's so important to take your lessons as a spiritual lesson and to not let it hurt you and affect you, but to transmute that pain and realize God has placed this on your heart for a reason. God has placed these people in my life for a reason. Tara, Jessica, Amy, and myself have all sat down and said, it's been a long time coming. It's been years that we've been looking for women like this, you know, and we are a force to be reckoned with. And we are not going to stop. We are on fire for our sisters. We will be demanding legislation. We will be demanding these bills be approved. And it's just a matter of linking up with these politicians that are willing to support us in this process. We welcome them to come out to our protests. We want to have these conversations. So it's just a matter of time, and it's just a matter of God placing these people in our lives so that we are able to affect that change.
So honored to hear you processing things where you're focused. I would like to see if you recognize any distinctions among the Women Veterans Movement that you can share that you feel is a challenge, if you understand. One of the things that I'm hearing across the tone with the advocacy, as opposed to what I think is a need to bring clarity. There's a unique culture amongst the military that is distinguishable from any other culture. The characteristics of our military dynamics are unique, and we must recognize them as veterans and as military people. So whether we're active duty veterans, as civilians, we must articulate that understanding, and I think you do that well. One of the challenges that I hear with translating to the legislative community is the accuracy and the integrity by those who represent us at the table at this time, which is why I do not believe that the bill on yesterday was passed. It lacks integrity. And I think
Correct.
that there will not be a movement beyond Women Veterans One Voice that will be able to overcome these particular barriers because they lack integrity. So at California, most of the legislators who are actually propelling this particular agenda, Congressman Takano and Congresswoman Brownlee, in my opinion, both have failed us. Good intentions gone bad. Why? They're civilians. And one thing
Correct.
that I understand is that they become sensitized to our pain, but they do not understand the culture. They're not getting the type of consultation and the advisory that suggests any recognition for the protocols and regulations by which govern us as veterans and as military people. In 2013, there was a hearing. It was probably the very first hearing on military sexual trauma. It came as a consequence of 1,000 cases that were investigated at Lackland Air Force Base in Texas. There were two generals, one 4-star and a 5-star general, who were training commanders at the Lackland Air Force Base, who provided testimony to this hearing that was introduced and sponsored by Congresswoman Jackie Spears, another California representative. And in 8 hours of testimony, at least, these generals provided distinct clarification on the investigation and the reports of the 1,000 cases and how they found it 59 to be substantiated. What was interesting about this particular case, which is why I want these distinctions to be made clear in this movement, the two female veterans, one Air Force and one Army, that presented to this hearing, they addressed the two generals in a manner which was somewhat not supportive of the military professionalism that we should honor. And with the congressional leadership there, they failed to present a dialogue to appreciate when two generals give 8 hours of testimony, if you understand. And Congresswoman Spears, in my opinion, she addressed those two generals as though she did not recognize the bars on their shoulder. And it was very disturbing to watch for me because their advisors were leaders in the advocacy community. They were represented by SWAN. I don't know if you remember me with that group. And it was Protect Our Defenders, who was a lead group in supporting Congresswoman Spears in setting this agenda. Both of those groups, in my opinion, had failed to give good counsel. Therefore, they used taxpayer dollars and failed to achieve a huge agenda that could have affected us for today, if you understand. So
that's right.
What happened during that particular hearing, it concluded with Senator, she was Congresswoman at the time, Congresswoman Duckworth was wheeled in. She was a newly elected congressperson who had taken on, I guess, that strong drive and compassion to serve as you are now feeling in your gut, okay? So she was wheeled into the hearing, and as soon as she came in, and I followed her behind the actually, I followed her in a space that I was not allowed, but I was carrying the press. I carry official press pass. So she followed her, and she smiled because she knew I was on her. And what she did was, because the demand by these two females at that time was significant. This is 10 years ago. This is it was significant because this was the first hearing. And what they were demanding was that all the training commanders in this particular chain of command, what these reports were, that they be fired. That's what the hearing was about, that they fire all of these commanders and these mid-level training commanders and sergeants and all of the people in between. So there are two questions that I believe I remember very clearly. Congresswoman Duckworth asked the two female, I think one was an E8 and I think maybe an E7 of their ranks. So what the question was, are you suggesting that with all the investment that we put in training these officers, that you suggesting that Department of Defense now just totally discharge these people out of the command? And they were, very adamant about yes. And then the crowd and all the veterans in the back would, yeah. But the appropriateness was not conducive to the environment, if you understand. It was not, when you go before a congressional committee, there's a certain protocol I think was missed. And so the opportunity was missed to really achieve what you are trying to achieve today, which is the same thing that happened with this particular agenda where you don't allow a senator who's trying to read a bill and you fail to allow them to challenge a bill, that they were trying to surreptitiously have other agendas in the bill using women veterans' health. But there were other things in there that were irrelevant to challenge, okay? So what they were doing was presenting a bill, presenting this hearing, and we were in Washington, D.C., in Capitol Hill. And so I'm saying this to say this, that there's a certain protocol that we hold as military and a certain standard that we maintain. I tell you, I was never so proud of women veterans coming together than ever in my life than what I saw with Women Veterans One Voice inaugural rally. And I'm saying that to say this. As you transition into these different spaces, we have to use our military training. And I want to talk to you a little bit about that training and how that kicks in for you. With you, and when Jessica said, well, I'm going to put my boots on, and she said this is going to be her uniform from now on until a change is made, which was her military hat, her boots, and her BDUs, right? She said that. Did she
Correct.
not? I was listening. And I'm saying that to say
That's
something
right.
else. So I researched BDUs and when is appropriate to wear your uniform. And I want Jessica to know that because I want you guys not to miss not one step in this thing. I want you to have all your I's dotted and all of your T's crossed. So it is okay to wear your uniform when you are involved in ceremonial or other military-related activities, and that this could not be no more to that point. You understand?
You got that right.
So I do believe that when you put your BDUs on and you put yourself in that uniform, that you are representing all of the military and all that it stands for. So I'm proud.
100%.
Yes, absolutely. So I just want to let you know that hearing, how it concluded, because the disrespect for those generals, I think they failed to understand who they were talking to. But before those hearings were over, within seconds, if you want to see power and influence, if you want to see a door close so quickly, approaching the level of our government, not prepared or unprepared, that's what happens. The door closes, just like yesterday. You see what I'm saying? And in those hearings,
yes,
within minutes, those hearings shifted from military sexual assault in the military to, this is the term that the newspaper used, that I'm sure that I have a clip somewhere. 4 lesbian butch dykers just filed a lawsuit against Donald Rumsfeld and Robert Gates. That was the Secretary of the Army and Secretary of Defense. They had filed this lawsuit because they were suggesting that they wanted to be women to go on the front line and fight for combat. So that immediately changed those hearings from military sexual trauma, which we were all sensitive to. That's what we were all there for. But out of that disrespect for those two generals and a lack of understanding in how the preparation had misleading, it only takes one voice to change the whole dynamics. And I think that Women Veterans One Voice is going to change the dynamics. You see what I'm saying? So when 100%. We are preparing, as we are preparing, and I'm saying we because I'm going to be on the sidelines cheering, as we are preparing for that Washington, D.C. Capitol Hill agenda, I want to be there to support you 100% for your desires for any role, whether it's Congress, advocacy, whatever it is. Ms. Jones is very knowledgeable about the terrain. Ms. Jones is very knowledgeable about leadership in an organization. But there are parameters as nonprofit founders withholding 501c3s and work within those parameters. So we have to execute outside of certain parameters. That means we must engage others who have more leeway, if you understand.
Yeah.
So those different roles, understanding that one goal, which is we will eradicate this issue. And Women Veterans One Voice is that platform. And with that being said, I want to continue to keep our communication open with regards to being prepared for that Capitol Hill agenda. There will be a difference made. There will be a different level of integrity than what is being provided there today. We are not going there to change the minds of people, just present a truth. You have the truth is recorded. The one thing that I have used as a historical mantra is you cannot legislate compassion, but compassion does translate into legislation, if you understand. When you are properly prepared.
That's exactly right. And that's where we're coming, is for the legislation. And you've said so many important things here, Dr. Santos. that I want to piggyback a little bit on. First is that, it's so imperative that you operate in integrity. That was drilled into my head as a fresh soldier, is that integrity first, right? And so the minute you slip on those BDUs, battle dress uniform, you are ready for battle. You're ready for war. And there's a reason we are wearing those pants. There is a reason we are wearing our boots. There is a reason we are coming dressed for war, okay? Because the time for niceties is over. And this goes back to us feeling silent, is that they continue to not approve these bills and mock us by, not giving the platform to the correct people. The point is that we have civilian politicians trying to write legislation and pass laws and all of these things that haven't served a day in their life, that have never put on this uniform and don't understand what integrity is at the core and what service means. And so the thing is that nothing about me has changed except for the uniform. I am still a person of service, and I will be of service. And if I'm called to service in a political seat, then so be it. Then God has placed that in my heart, and that's where I need to be to make change. Then amen. You better believe I'll carry it out to my dying day. Okay. Now, that being said, I'm willing to have these conversations with politicians, but the thing is that we're being mocked by these civilians that disregard us and continue to try to put a muzzle on us. And we're tired of it. We're not going to stand for it. They've brought the warrior out, right? They've trained us for combat. They've taught me how to strategize. And so I will utilize the same skills that they have trained me with to come at them and demand justice for my sisters. And so I hope to connect with one another. I hope that we can do this in peace. But the thing is that that time is over, and so we are coming to be loud and we are coming to be heard. And we demand to have politicians in seats that are going to allow our sisters to have the justice they deserve and allow our voices to be heard. And so I'm in this fight, are you there?
No, please. So, yes, I that's me. Sorry.
Okay.
I apologize.
No worries.
No,
but, I appreciate your support so much, Dr. Santos, and I'm so grateful that we've been able to connect, and I'm grateful for you allowing me the platform to speak today. And, I'm really excited to meet you here out at our Temecula protest here September 5th at the Temecula Duck Pond, the National Memorial here for the veterans over here at Temecula Duck Pond. We're going to be having a lot of wonderful keynote speakers out here and a lot of amazing veterans gathering to support brothers and sisters both, because it's going to take our brothers and our sisters to come together to win this war. And so I'm not out to demonize my brothers. I love my brothers that I've served with. I invite them to the platform. I invite them to the fight because it's going to take, like I said, our brothers and our sisters to come together to really make the change.
Well, Amy Serpa, I'm going to declare you a certified honorary, deputize you as a true, I'm telling you, listen, I turned 64 years old this last month. And I say that to say that 32 years ago, I felt that same yearning that you feel, okay? So 30 years later, just think about, it does not die. It just becomes more seasoned with what your role is. So I feel that I'm not a sideliner, but I want to be a support system as much as I can, and I'm just glad that you have given me this time to document what is going to be historical, because everything that I say and do, and most of us, certainly Ms. Jones, she is followed by those who will not admit that following her. I know that because I know that they don't know things unless we tell them what things are going on. These fragmented platforms will be brought together, and those like you they will rise. They will rise. I want you to know that this past 50 minutes has been one that I will treasure forever. I archived these discussions, I want to call them, because I think that they will provide history. I have history of testimonies from that hearing in 2014. I'll share it with you. You can maybe listen to it in your car sometime.
I would love that. Thank you.
I started this radio show back in 2008, and we had a great listening audience at some point. But, you know, as women veterans, if you're not careful, that's why you have to be very so watchful and mindful about the challenges that we deal with as advocates. But if we stay together, if we stay united, and if we recognize the sharks in the water, we can navigate around them. Or when we have to, we can put a spear in their mouth, if you understand.
That's right.
Sometimes it takes a gladiator to get in the ring with you, if you understand. And what the gladiator does, it leaves nothing standing. So you got some gladiators with you out here.
That's right. I've got some major gladiators with me, and you know the famous saying goes, "I'd rather die a gladiator in the arena." I'd rather die a gladiator in the field than a prospect sitting in the arena. And so the thing is that if it's written in my stars that I die an advocate, you know, then God has put that there. There's nothing I could do about that. But I will go down swinging a sword. You see what I'm saying? I'm not afraid of that. I've faced death so many times in my life that, this is easy, if you will. I don't have to wake up and worry about bullets whizzing by my head, So life is good. But that being said, so much change needs to happen, and it's shocking to see the state we're in 2020. And so it's unreal the amount of battles that women have had to go to endure even this level of inequality, right? We're still not equal. And so the thing is that women have been in combat since the beginning of time, and we're still not even being recognized for it. And so it's a shock for people to hear women are combat veterans still. Women are veterans, right? So it's going to take a lot of us to link up and support one another, and I'm so grateful for your support. And the thing is that this is a historical movement. This is the first women veterans protest since the Vietnam era. And so what we are doing is historical, and this is a movement that will not stop, and this will be written in the history books, and I'm honored to be a part of it.
Well, I would like to just bring a little bit of attention to your understanding about the first. I don't think it's quite the first. There may be some fragmented conversations that could bring in other movements, but this is not the first. But certainly it's going to be one that is impactful for the 21st century. So there are other movements that have been started. However, for whatever reason, they do not last. In my history of those women who were rallying with me early on in the years, they're dead. They're not alive any longer. And we don't want that to be in this movement. We want to live through this. And some of the things that it's helped to keep this movement alive is that there is a different kind of transparency. Social media has given us a different platform where things are not hidden anymore. So where we're not being given all of the information. It'll all come together as we continue to move forward. You'll find other groups that have been doing great work in this country from different areas, but they're fragmented. And as you continue to show presence, there will be one voice. There will only be one veteran, one voice. So they will find you. You just keep doing what you're doing. I will bring them to you. I will bring you women veterans from all over this country. I have a strong network of women veterans who are looking for someone because they have become tired in their work over the years. They too, when I facilitated the very first women veterans platform for sexual assaulted women 20 years ago, I will tell you, there was a female there from World War II. When we mentioned the word that sexual assault, she became paralyzed. She was terrorized just in an environment where we talked about sexual assault. And I did not know that I was triggering her. But she was a mother to another woman veteran. Yes, I'm telling you, this how delicate it is. We are here, but we are frozen. We are paralyzed from the fear. We have been terrorized by the fear. You see what I'm saying? And silence.
That's right.
So as you continue to so present, so just know that they are out here, but they have been terrorized by fear. So this World War II
That's
veteran,
correct.
this is back in so the early 2000s when this World War II veteran, the pain through her eyes, okay? The pain came through her eyes. I'm going to throw some pictures up there from back in the day, okay? So just to see what you're doing, what you're connected to. You're going to see the pain of the people. You're going to see it in their eyes.
That's
They're
right.
not going to be able to talk, okay? So just know that this is something that you can take lightly. You have to know that you're pulling up a history and up a past of people who are waiting to be rescued. I call this Operation Rescue. The one thing that I know that you're also saying to me is you're willing to go for the long haul. And I also hear you saying that you cannot be bought or sold. Many of the women veterans are bought and sold, and they leave us waiting.
That's right.
And we never get. So you know all of this stuff. And I'm coming off the professional platform now because I'm talking to you as a sister comrade, that as this movement continues to grow and take on the voice for the nation, it will be heard. It will reverberate throughout every state in this country. There's no doubt in my mind. Ms. Jones is committed. She needs voices like you. You are committed. It's difficult for a leader to lead other leaders, but Ms. Jones can do that. You see what I'm saying?
That's right. Absolutely.
Yes. It's hard for some leaders to lead other leaders. That's why we need to know that we are all about the same mission. And when you see,
that's right.
Well, I'm a Desert Storm veteran. And when you see Desert Storm veterans that have been waiting, they are afraid. But I did public radio in Philadelphia for 5 years. I did it on an international program format. And I was coming down to Congress, and I was getting into the Senate and congressional chambers during the Iraq War. And we were talking to John Kerry. We were talking to the Oversight Committee about why they were not giving these Iraq veterans Kevlar, why they were not giving them the right tools to fight in this war. Okay?
That's right.
Why they were not. So
we're not giving them the tools on how to come home.
Now you guys are home. Now you are home. And it pains me. You mean to tell me you send soldiers over to the military, many of them are reservists, and I understand that. But you have to understand that now you guys are up here trying to rescue those who were, we were centuries behind, decades behind in getting support for the World War II veterans, those of you who are alive, the Korean War veterans. There were some veterans who went to Panama, Grenada, okay? They were in conflict there. You see what I'm saying? So you have to know that these distinctions are very important for your role. That's a huge, huge, huge burden to carry. Are you ready?
Oh, 100%. And that's the thing is, I realize that this is about so much more than just myself. And that's why this speech meant so much to me, and why I was so honored to have the platform, and why I took so much time and energy to process what I was going to say. I wrote and rewrote and revised and wrote that speech again. I can't even tell you how many times, because I didn't want it to be a speech where it re-traumatized anyone. I wanted it to be a speech where it empowered women to speak up and use their voice and reclaim their power. And the thing is that, Jesus changed the world with 12, right? And so I'm looking for a few good soldiers to join me to really create the change that I know that we can make across the world, starting with the greatest nation in the world. And that's really going to come, like I said earlier, from within, and that's with our NCOs. That's the leading force in the world's strongest military is our NCOs. And so the change is going to come with them, where they're going to need to stand up and say, hey, I am not going to either obey that command if it's not a lawful order, or, stand up and support our sisters if something ends up happening to them. and so we need that trust built from within, and there are those brothers in place that I have been able to go to and say, hey, my brother, please watch my back. And I've been able to, trust that they would have my back, So we need to feel empowered with our brothers and our sisters, and we need to come together to create real change. And, people like to forget that Jesus was a radical, right? There's a time in life when, change calls for radicalism. And right now, this change is calling for radicalism. And, I'm right here with my hand raised. I'm a radical and I'm ready for the fight. So I'm ready to speak for my sisters from every war and every era. And, I realize that I am speaking for so many, including those that have passed, and including our Gold Star families, and including all of these women that are still healing. I will be a voice for them. We will be heard. And we need to elect these people into these positions of power so that they're able to affect that change and write the legislation that we need to really create the change in law form and the legislation. And so I'm honored to be a part of the fight. And, I'm so grateful to you for today, Dr. Santos. It's been really wonderful speaking with you. Thank you so much.
This has been practice. So as you know, every platform gets more prepared for you. It's prepared. This is prepared ground. So I want you to come back on as you develop area of advocacy. I want you to take all the practice you can right here and get to know what it's like to hear yourself and to get feedback, because there may be some. So I want this to be a practice ground as you continue to develop in this area of advocacy and seeking legislation and potentially becoming a leader for us at the congressional level or whatever level that you choose. But there's a preparedness that requires that you understand the process and as well kind of understand the what's all involved. And I want this to be one of those practice grounds for you. And when you feel there's a topic that you would like to get documented, certainly we share this on Twitter, Instagram, and I will be uploading these into a YouTube and certainly on my website. We're going to be feeding these messages through. I'd like to have your permission to use your picture that we can continue to promote this as you move forward on the website at www.nawvphilly.webs.com. We're going to be updating that with information about your journey and the Women Veterans One Voice, National Women Veterans Association of America. That's our sister organization on the West Coast. And we continue to move congruently to meet the objective here. So we are growing as organizational leaders and certainly to support efforts such as yours. And this is, like I said, again, an honorable moment. It's historical. And this is a practice ground for the next phase for you. And we do not take it for granted that you are taking on a huge, 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 huge agenda and interpreting all of that's involved here. I want to thank you. I yield to your idea about what your leadership looks like. I yield to that. And certainly I'm going to be here as I call myself a senior veteran. I'm not trying to get in anybody's way out there. I sit here and I do the radio shows now, but I'm on Congress. I set up congressional meetings on Capitol Hill, and when you're ready, we're going to include you on our Capitol Hill agenda. I think this is a good place for us to draw some understanding about how important it is that all hands are on deck. We are united, and I think as comrades, we get it. We get it, and it's not going to happen without our effort. I want to thank you, Women Veterans Speak. We're on every Saturday at 5 o'clock. I did arrange for a 2-hour program. You're welcome to stay with us if you'd like. But this conversation can go, and I really want to dive into some of your history with the military. I want to talk about what some of your specific ideas about some of the challenges that you see you're facing out there. But I think that you laid a good foundation. Certainly to come back at another time. Amy Serpa, woman veteran.
Thank you so much, Dr. Santos.
This is going to be probably been one of my most memorable programs. I wanted you to meet Masina Munjan. She may come up on the next half of the program, but otherwise I'm just going to be talking about the history. But again, you're welcome to come back to discuss any relevant issues that you feel are important for sharing on this broadcast. And like I said, it's going to be shared throughout the network of social media, National Women Veterans Association of America. We have her support for how we can do outreach for this movement, and we're going to continue to push it and get people to get involved in it. I have my T-shirt. I can't wait to put it on and get my picture out there with the rest of the ladies. And again, please know that we do not take it for granted, all that it takes to do what you do, and let us know how we can help you to get things done. We're here.
Thank you so much. I'm forever grateful for your support, Dr. Santos, and it's truly been a pleasure to be on Women Veterans Speak today, and I would be honored to come back on anytime you'd have me. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. This is Amy Serpa, lead voice on Women Veterans One Voice Journey for Murdered Women Veterans and Victims of Military Sexual Trauma. As we have heard, that it is her desire to have legislation that addresses specific issues facing women veterans. She spoke very specifically about some of the challenges in how she has become sensitized to the past efforts that have failed us as women veterans. She believes that she has the calling or the gift that it takes to become that advocate, and we're going to support her in her efforts. Women veterans who are advocates across this country will be joining forces with Women Veterans One Voice. I'm going to urge that and certainly support that through my efforts. I am actually right now going to ask for a little break, and we will be right back. That's from the phone. Welcome back to Women Veterans Speak Talk radio program discussing women veterans issues. We just finished a robust conversation with Amy Serpa. She's an advocate, spokesperson for Women Veterans One Voice. We thank Amy Serpa for her time. We thank Amy Serpa for her due diligence in working on behalf of women veterans. Ms. Tara Jones, who National Women Veterans Association of America, who is spearheading this movement with rallies across the country. They're on their way to Capitol Hill to address legislation. We talked early in the first section about the legislation that was passed on yesterday through the House, but caused some kind of a disruption in the Senate committee at the time of the vote. One of the things that I read was that the Senate committee walked out because they did not believe it was fair that the House committee not allow them to make amendments to the bill. They found some, surreptitious language that addressed child care and may or may not have been appropriate to the bill when they were talking about women veterans' health care. And I think that was appropriate to make those distinctions, and I would like to see how the Senate is going to move forward with that in that next level. I talked about Marcina Munjan and her work in the first part of the program, and I wanted her to have the opportunity to hear from Ms. Amy Serpa, to hear some of the need for transitioning and for learning some of the processes for gaining inroads into the next phase of this journey. It was very interesting to share with her. Ms. Munjan, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Ms. Munjan, I am so honored. I am so honored that we can talk today and share about experiences that connect historical relevance to what the young soldiers are trying to do today. I would like to have you just share a little bit about what that experience was for you back in 1993 when I met you, and you were already involved in the advocacy that these young military veterans are doing today. What can you share about what propelled you to get involved in advocacy 30 years ago?
It was a circle of people that saw something in me that I didn't see in myself, because at the time I was just coming out of the military or with disability, and I had children, so my brain was really scrambled. But the thing that I understood was that each one teach one. So everything that you learn, your responsibility is to teach somebody else. And this was the force that kept me going, because the people that came to my aid, I didn't know their names, but they came and did what needed to be done to help me with my children, to help me to understand what the issues were. And it was because of that, and the spiritual thing for me was that they didn't even know, I didn't know their names, but they helped me. You know, they taught me things that I did not know. And so that was when you surround yourself with people of wisdom and knowledge, that helps you to be able to have a thought pattern, to be at peace. And what I've learned over the years is that there are times that we have to be silent, and there's times that we have to raise our voices. And in maturing, you understand when those times are. And the plight of women veterans has been it's been so scary. And what I've learned, because I got into a big argument with Barney Franks one time, and everybody's like, this girl has lost her mind. But I believed in what I had to say. And the conversation was over the oath of enlistment. And that in the oath of, what used to be in the oath of enlistment was the part about your sexual preference. And it was that you had those sexual preference. So you signed that because that was the oath of enlistment. So my thing was that, wait a minute, you guys don't have any rights because you signed them away. And that started a firestorm. But the one thing that I was confident in is that, see, I went toe-to-toe with him. But I didn't understand that there's protocols. But I later learned protocols when you have a disagreement. But I was not frightened. I was not afraid, because inside of me, the Spirit was with me. And as the things that we did over the years to at hearings and speaking engagements about women veterans, a lot of people were very just not knowing that women veterans were going through what they were going through. They thought, hey, you were in the military, the VA's taking care of you, and they didn't understand the system. And many of our sisters that face sexual assaults are having serious issues, and they're having serious issues with their with the VA. They're having serious issues with their families, because they don't understand that the things that they went through. That here you were told to have respect for your having respect for those that are in authority over you. So as a young woman, if you're told to go do this and it don't sound right, and if you didn't do it, they would give you Article 15 for not doing what they said, because they were in authority. So as a young person, you don't know that that's not right. And so there's a lot of things that we face that even today women are still facing them, where higher-ups are just taking their own privileges and thinking that they can just have any woman that they want, and you're not supposed to say anything. But there is a spirit in the land that says enough is enough. And there's enough sisters that are joining together. It's a demon. It's a sexual demon. That's what it is. I'm calling it out for what it is. Because anytime a man cannot control himself because he sees a young woman that's built very nicely, and his only thing that's on his mind is, oh, I need to get next to that. That's demonic. And so we have to get to the point where we understand that it is a beautiful thing for women to serve in the military. But it is not right for a man to take advantage of a woman because he can. And not every woman face sexual assaults. Some women face verbal abuse where they're being talked to, very abruptly. So there's a lot of things within the military that has to change. And the change can only come if we open our mouths and say, okay, enough is enough. So I just, over this time of, I had to step out because I had to take care of my family. And I have not stopped the fight, but I just had to push back. And sometimes life just takes control, but we still have a voice. And so we all need to come together in one voice, and we need to start telling our stories. People need to know what we've been through, because we've already been trained to be the best. We've been trained for excellence. So there is no excuse for us not to start to make the change and start to understand that there's a divine purpose for all of this. And it's hard. I'm not going to tell you it's not hard. It has been hard. But we can look back. Me and Dr. Santos can look back at the hearing that changed what we have today. And we can be proud of that we were a part of that. Just telling our story. And that's all it took for us to tell our story. For them to say, what? This is going on? And they were shocked. And they started doing the investigation. They said, oh, wow, this can't be right. So when we see the privileges, so something simple as having female pajamas while you're in the VA hospital. That may be something really trivial to someone, but that means that you are somebody when you have something that fits you instead of having male pajamas. So I just give all honor to God that, you know, I've made it this far, and I soon will be 58 years old, and I'm ready to get back into the fight and help other female veterans to be able to tell their story.
I'm grateful. I just would like to say to you that this Amy Serpa, the young lady that was on, said she thought that the Women Veterans One Voice was the only movement. And I had to share with her that there are many movements.
Right.
There have been many movements. Our lives and our livelihoods.
Yes.
And oftentimes when we reached back, there was nobody prepared to take on the mantle.
Right.
So there are many blank spots, and across this country there are many movements.
There's
just a lot of disconnectivity in how they have caused us not to unite.
Yes.
So I will tell you, I have been focused on the activities, Congressional Hearing 10319, in the publication where the testimonies of Marcina Mungeon and Kathy Manzi, who was my name at the time, about how the mandate for women veterans facilities, it was an effort to have put into those VA hospitals. There was none at the time.
Yes.
And so when I hear, with no disrespect, but there is no LGBTQ specific health care. There is no particular that's combat related, where it should supersede the quality of life of those women who have served. There has been significant loss to life because there is no focus on the direct issues. That if you can agree that when you were speaking back then and going out talking about then, there has been an evolution of change and progress.
Yes.
Why they don't want this to me, because the legislation that they tried to pass yesterday, a Deborah Garnett-Sampson Act, you know, you came to one of the Deborah Garnett-Sampson event you back when we were starting the Deborah Garnett-Sampson Day.
Yeah.
In Philadelphia. And so, you know, why they are copying the work without acknowledging us, that's another consideration. Why are they doing that? What is it about the fact that we are doing this that they have a problem with bringing us to the table? So I have to ponder that and wondering, because there are no consequences to what they're doing. There's no impact on what they're doing. So why not bring the ones to the table that's doing the work? And this is what one of my conclusions are.
Yeah.
Amy Serpa said, we're going to declare war on them. But what I shared with her, the reality is they have already declared war on us.
Yes, they have.
They declared war on us long before I was part of the picture 30 years ago. This was something maybe a long time ago. So it is our duty now to remain diligent in responding to that war they declared on us by bringing some integrity into this platform.
Yes.
I don't know who these people are, what their agenda is, but they must recognize that veterans are intelligent. They can articulate, they can advocate, and they can legislate, because this one here says she's going to go into Congress. And I believe her, you know, and we want to support those legislators who are yet to be realized in our community. We need them there. Now,
we
have
do.
Congresswoman Luria out of Virginia Beach, Virginia. She's there. Of course, you know, we have Senator Duckworth. But what are they doing for veterans? You know, what is their hind part that they can't see where they came from has been an issue?
I think one of the problems is that, okay, once you get into the system, those things that are popular, you want to keep going with that. But the things that are unpopular, that's going to put you out of favor with people, you don't want to talk about it. So women veterans issues has always been a sore spot. And the reality is that, women have fought in wars since the beginning of this country. And there has been denial about those women. They serve bravely. And so there is a faction that does not want to give credit to women veterans. The thing that they want to do is they want to pull out the bad things that have happened, but they don't want to acknowledge those that have done prestigious things for the cause of women veterans. But they always want to do the stories that make it's like throwing mud. But I truly believe now that the changing tide is that there's always been this ripple between the LGBTQ and the women veterans. There's always been this ripple. And I think what has happened is that their ripple has become very loud. And women veterans has it's not loud enough. So we have to raise our voices louder than their voice so that people will understand that there's not no split here, women veterans.
I could ask you, what do you see as been some of the challenges for allowing these women veteran advocates to be heard today? What do you see as being a challenge?
One challenge is them being sold off for a piece of money to keep their mouth shut. That has gone on for a long time. And we have to have integrity. If we believe in something, we need to stand for it. And the other thing is that, we come from families. We have children. There's brothers and sisters. And we have a circle around us, but we don't use it.
So what do you think that this may end, but I want you to keep talking because I think this is going to be historic. I'm going to ask that you talk a little bit about what goals you may have to at this juncture in your military advocacy. What goals do you see as fitting or appropriate for this time after having done all that you've done historically? What do you see as being an appropriate role for you now in the advocacy?
To start a legal defense fund for women veterans.
Okay.
So that when these things come up, that they have somebody to support them. And the second thing is having a strong support groups for those that need support groups.
Yes.
Including their family in the support group, because the family needs to know what their mother or sister has gone through so that they can help them heal. Because it's not just healing that female veteran. Their whole family needs to be healed, because when she lashes out, she's lashing out to her family. And the other thing is that helping them to see what God made them for, to see that they are a woman of greatness. They're warriors. And once you become a warrior, you're a warrior forever.
Yeah.
And so just helping to mentor women to understand that you do not have to take second seat. You can ride in the first seat. And
wow.
if they want to get themselves together and go to college or whatever their desire is, help them with their desires to become what they want to be. Help them to build dreams.
Wow. So Ms. Serpa talked a little about in the first segment about her being very spiritual. It's been very spiritual for her.
Mm-hmm.
When she wrote a speech, when she delivered her speech. What do you believe can be an impetus for uniting women who are different states? How can we draw other people without they'll feel like we're proselytizing them or converting them, or, you know, how do we bring people into believing that we are all part of the same mission? What are some of the key challenges in bringing people together around hurt, pain, suffering, the humanitarian type of challenge that we're facing, that people do not gravitate to help another human being?
Well, the first thing is learning to do self-care, learning to take care of yourself, learning to have that quiet time. If it's nothing but 10 minutes, learning that quiet time, understanding that you are a human being. When you're stressed, stress is not good for you.
Wow.
So in doing that self-care, you help your body stay strong. And I never knew, but the power of having a hot cup of tea means a whole lot because it soothes your nerves. And the second thing is that we have to learn to walk in peace. And walking in peace goes across all denominations. And when we look at things, we should look at it as how to draw peace together. How can we walk together if we'll have to walk in one spirit in order to walk together? And just breaking down those barriers of, well, you know, I'm Baptist, I'm Methodist. It doesn't matter. We're all God's children. And if we're going to walk this walk in a spiritual way, we have to understand our spirits have to communicate to one another. And our spirits communicating to one another gives us that peace that passes all understanding.
Wow, that's powerful. That's powerful. So where do you see, you heard Ms. Serpa, where do you see her, from her tone, what do you think could be a good piece of advice for her to meet her objective?
Self-care.
Self-care.
She got to do self-care.
When she mentioned that there was a lot of healing in that, I was concerned that maybe sometimes we become consumed and we forget that we too need healing. But I was really pleased that she recognized that she was being healed as she went through the path. That was a very interesting live feed, young lady was found. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, they were walking, I said, wow, those are sacred grounds. You could not walk through there without feeling her speaking from the grave. Mm-hmm. I felt that as I watched last week. So this movement, if I could share a little bit about the Women Veterans One Voice, is a collective effort to build this agenda where there will not have to be any dead spots in the movement. That there will be a growing and continuous movement that takes reign. And I think that we can serve. I said, I'm on the sidelines. I'm not getting anybody's way, but certainly I hope they will be receptive to our expertise and knowledge in this, and respect the fact that we were there a long time ago. Mm-hmm. That's why I really wanted you to get in on today's call. It would just so happen that the Lord would put you in that space today.
Right.
You have family, you raise family, now you're raising your grandchildren. We all have those same dynamics when we step out, and try to advocate, and we want to make sure that these young ladies stay grounded. as they are moving forward in this, because they could forget and become so consumed in the fight that they forget about home and that self-help needs.
And you need your family. You need your family.
And that family support system is so vital. And but they're creating a family amongst themselves that I've never seen. These young group of military veterans have created amongst them a strong support and care for one another. You know, I remember back in the day just meeting other women veterans. When I would meet them, I just felt like I had met a god or something, because they were so divided and separated. And what I remember,
especially when we meet the older ones, the World War I, World War II women. I mean, you could see the strength in their face. And it's just, it's like touching the hem of Jesus' garment when you see their faces and you see the struggle, and they don't have to say nothing. You feel their spirit, and that's what it is. It's feeling that spirit. Our spirits connecting.
Yes. 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 And, you know, this thing is very spiritual.
Yes.
And and what she said was, you know, there's a very dark side to this thing. You know, I was really surprised that she talked about Jesus and she talked about the disciples. And I was really surprised that this young lady was that in tune. I really want to get more out of her. I really want to hear more about that spiritual journey, you know. And I asked her that she come back, but I really want to get you on documented today. I think it's going to be very significant when we archive this, because they listen to everything that we say now. They don't know which way they're going. But I'm going to be I was allowed to send a statement in to the hearing. Because I called them after I watched the hearing 2 weeks ago that precipitated the vote on yesterday. So I told them, after listening to that, I said, that's not the reality. You know, that's not even truthful. They're ignoring the historical, you know, path that, you know, that was already laid, and they're trying to reinvent, you know, different legislation just to bring people into notoriety.
Yeah, but that push for the LGBTQ is so crazy. And, you know, my thing is that we got to lift, our voices got to be louder than theirs, because they are pushing stuff and they're finagling things, and they are working all kinds of stuff to get their agendas heard. So we have to, our voices have to be louder than theirs, and we got to push, because now is the time to push, because they're getting all kinds of stuff pushed through that we've been trying to get pushed through for the longest time. And it's like, you know, we were here first. You know, we were the voice to be reckoned with. And so I really believe that we have to, our voices, we got to go on the top of the mountain and scream, because the things that are going on, there's illegal stuff going on. They're doing stuff under the table, passing bills and stuff just to put the LGBTQ first. And, you know, my thing is that no. That is not right. You know, I have nothing against them, but our fight is about all women, not about sexual genders.
Yeah.
And so they're trying to make it seem like we don't like them. But our fight is not about your sexual orientation. Our fight is about women that have served. Point blank.
The challenge that I have with what they're doing, just like we fought for the Women Veterans platform and to have that gender-specific facility so that we can have our own access. My position is that I encourage them that they should seek their own space. There's no need to fight for space here. it's more comfortable for them to have their own space. The challenge that I see when I was presented with the Philadelphia Women Veterans Coordinator and Program Manager, where I did this research about an incident that happened there, gender female, that had been reconstructed to male. And my understanding was that they were in the clinic and it created some of a disturbance because the clerk there identified them as a female in the women's clinic.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was just as painful for them as it would be for the women veterans who were triggered by them. And it caused me concern when the Women Veterans Program Manager said, well, the women veterans, they must cope. They must learn to take some coping skills, is what she said.
Mm-hmm.
I said, no, they're not going to take any coping skills. You're going to find a way to give them the privacy that they deserve.
Right.
They should not be to any embarrassment or discomfort like we didn't have, like we fought to death.
Right.
They should be allowed to have their own privacy. Period.
Yeah.
What are they fighting for? What are they fighting women veterans for? And why is that allowed?
I don't know, but I know that it's disturbing to me to every time that I run up on this, and I notice that they have now in all of the VA's literature about gay and lesbian health care. And it kind of rubs me the wrong way, because you are giving more credence to the gays and lesbians than the women veterans that have served. And that, why should that be? It should be equal footing.
So
it shouldn't. It should be equal. And you have to be sensitive to people. You have to be sensitive to what they've gone through. And the way that they're doing this is causing a lot of problems. And the general public, they don't understand what's going on. They look at it as just women just starting trouble. They don't understand that, what we have to fight hard for what we have. And in order to keep services comfortable to the outside, the VA has to come up to the standard. Because many of the, even though the legislation was passed about the women veterans health care, in some now they want to make it like you can only be seen by a woman health care doctor and not a regular, like your primary care. They automatically put you in women's health. And I have issues with that, because you're clunking us all together, not allowing us to be able to make the decision of who we want as a primary caregiver. And then they don't do gynecological things. So only thing they're doing is putting you in one track. But the gynecological doctors are separate. So it's like it's like putting the cart before the horse. So they're taking away the opportunity to be seen by a primary care doctor that you can develop a relationship with, so that, because as you get older, things start not working so good. But if you have a doctor that you can talk to and help you to navigate the things that's going on with your body, that helps you to be a healthy person. But when you're doing all of this, you're selecting who this female veterans should go to. And another doctor may be a specialist in something that she's service connected with. So it creates it's just some things that need to be tweaked in how they are doing the women's health. You know, I'm not fighting against it, but what I'm saying is that there's some things that's got to be tweaked in there so that, you know, we get the health coverage that we need when we need it, and have a primary care that is sympathetic to the needs of an older woman.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I started going through menopause, I didn't know what was going on with me. And I asked the doctor, and the doctor said, "Oh, well, I got to send you to somebody else." And I didn't understand that the things that I was going through was a part of menopause, because I really thought that I was going crazy. And finally, I got a nurse practitioner sat me down and talked to me, you know, on how to deal with the menopause. But it's like, why should I have to go through all of that? You know, and you can't tell me, you're the doctor, and you can't tell me that, you know, that these are some signs, and this is how you can deal with it. Because when something's going on with you, and you don't know what's going on with you, it makes you very concerned when you have a health issue. But when you go to the health professional, and the health professional tell you, well, I don't know what's going on with you, that makes you think you're crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that it has to be as older women, you know, for us older women, that our bodies change. And so, you know, that whole piece of the health initiative needs to be tweaked so that we can stay healthy and live longer.
Well, you know, you always take me back to a place, and I forget that time has passed, my city, because it always seems like just yesterday. Every time we get together, it always seems like we are still connected. No time has passed, and we just need to just connect it. So you see that without having to take ownership, I think that what has to happen is that we have to be connected through the spirit realm. There is no ownership of any particular contribution, or there's no ownership of any particular role anybody plays. Mm-hmm. It's only what we do for Christ that will last.
That's right.
And I think that is what I was so impressed with her recognizing her spiritual journey, Ms. Serpa. And I'm just so grateful that I know that the leader of the National Women Veterans Association of America, she's very spiritual, and, you know, there's no need taking ownership of anything if nothing is getting done.
Right.
So I just want to thank you for your time and all of your hard work. And I thank God for just putting you on putting this program on your spirit today, because you called just in time to get on. I didn't mean to rush you, but I had to jump. I know I had you jumping. I needed you on here today. So I just posted on my social network the pictures with you. I don't know if you remember when we was at the party with Senator Hughes' wife.
Yes. Yes.
I have you up there with all this hair. And that was a sister. I don't know if you remember her. She was she used to wear a beret. She was an old-timer Vietnam veteran. Her name was Mary. She used to be at the VA, and I met her shortly after she started showing me the ropes. I mean, she's very soft-spoken. But she would wear that beret. And I think she's passed. I'm sure she is. But I always pay tribute to her. I do not remember her name. I remember going to her house. I remember picking her up. I remember her coming to an event down at the convention center. But I do not remember her last name. But I always pay tribute to her. Shirley Pinesock, another woman veteran, Paula Glover, Sharon Bell, all these veterans that were supportive. Don't know their statuses today, but, you know, we stay connected because I know that's what God has allowed.
Yes.
And for those that need to stay in the fold, they need to be connected to somebody.
Yeah.
so that they can be remembered and honored, for their work and contribution. So I just thank you for this hour that you spent with me. It's been more than appreciative, but I'm going to get off the phone and call you later because we got to get on some other kind of girl talk.
Yes.
I need some more fuel, and I need some more guidance for the next phase. I'm getting ready to respond to the Senate committee that's going to be taking on this House committee bill that where they walked out. But I want to get in there real quick. I've already communicated to the newspaper that put the article out. Mm-hmm. And they're not going to close this door on this particular movement. It's called Women Veterans One Voice. And I'd like to see how, I just said that, we are transitioning now. They're not particularly creating anything new. This has already been done before. It wasn't done, every round gets higher and higher.
Right.
But we're going to make sure that we're connected to them so that we can guide them along and educate them if they're willing to listen. Mm-hmm. Hopefully that they are. And we will we will make sure that we will make sure that
that they don't fall in the pitfalls that we had.
Yes, and I'm not going to let them fall into the pitfalls, but I'm not going to let them go without knowing that there was somebody that went on before.
Right.
So that's why I wanted to connect today, and it will be a powerful reunion when we all come together. We will.
Yes.
We will get there together.
Yes, we will.
Get there together. So I will talk with you later. Will you want me to call you tomorrow, later tonight? I know I up in the last couple of hours. I just needed you on, but we're going to come back on. I want you to come back on and talk about, because I know you get to do something. God will give you another vision. They can't do it without us.
No.
They're not going to be able to do this without us.
No.
That's why every bill they have brought to the table has failed.
Yep. Well, you can call me back later on.
Well, let me get myself together. Go become girl. I had a wonderful 2-hour show today. It was powerful. We'll talk later, okay?
All right.
Yeah, thank you for allowing me. I was a little bit hard. I said, I just need to do on this phone. You got to get really excited, so I'm calm now. Everything is done. Thank you.
All right. Okay.
Okay, we'll talk soon.
Right.
And thank you so much for joining us. I forgot that I was on this call and talk to you. But Lord have mercy, this has been a wonderful Saturday. This is Women Veterans Speak, Kathy Santos, host. I'm sitting here in the DMV area connected with sisters across the country, from North Carolina, California, communicating to women veterans on social media from Texas and Wyoming and Massachusetts and California. And this is the movement led by National Women Veterans Association of America, Ms. Tara Jones. We're grateful to you. Thank you for your due diligence. So we are connecting. We have connected. Women Veterans One Voice is the premier platform for the movement of the 21st century. This is Women Veterans Speak. Host Kathy Santos every Saturday at 5 o'clock p.m. talking about women veterans issues, talking about legislation, and talking about justice. Justice for Vanessa Gilling, justice for Lavina Johnson, and justice for all women veterans and military veterans who are sexually assaulted and become victims to their predators and those who prey upon us for whatever reason. We are in a movement now to take our lives and take them back and take control, and we're going to be empowered in doing so. Thank you, Amy Serpa, for joining us in our first segment. Thank you for allowing us, Tina Munjan, who has done great work. And we are moving forward, and we will meet you on Capitol Hill. Women Veterans One Voice will unite women veterans from across this country. They will rise above those who lack integrity and have other agendas at the expense of suffering and the deaths of women veterans. And we are grateful that we have joined. Unfortunately, to understand the mission is to live amongst each other peaceably. No one is unequal. We are all equal under the law and serving in our military. There is no this veteran or that veteran. We are one veteran. And we will prevail in our fight for justice. So thank you for allowing us to come to you today with our program. And please join us again on next week as we continue to broaden the platform and to tell the story. We will continue to fight, and we will continue to unite, and we will continue to win. victory, victory, victory. That is the objective here. We will be victorious, and we will win. And that is where we shall close our program of this evening, and we're looking forward to hearing back from those who are participating in today's program, and we will give you some follow-up information. We continue to broaden the platform and share in the discussion Women Veterans One Voice and Women Veterans Speak as the medium, as our news source for women veterans activities and legislation. We will continue to use this platform to document those historical issues, and then you'll find those located in archives on National Alliance of Women Veterans website at nawdphilly.webs.com and on social network at Cat Santos and our Women Veterans Legislative and Policy group. We will continue to share this information on Twitter and Instagram at Philly Vet. Thank you so much. Please spread the word. We are growing, and we're not stopping. Have a great Saturday evening, and we'll see you on next week.